Since last fall, Doug Williams has been working closely with Comedy Hype as a contributing correspondent since live stand-up has been halted due to the pandemic. Now that the vaccine has become more widely available, comedy clubs and other forms of live entertainment have returned. Doug has recently done a stand-up set for Kev on Stage as part of his Keep Your Distance comedy show, among other appearances. Today on the show, we have our Comedy Hype analyst, Pierre, calling into the show, and for the first time ever, we have our very own Doug Williams live in the studio to talk about what he's been up to during the pandemic and how he's been able to transition during this time.
Thank you
first
for
and foremost,
having
a
me.
round of
Thank you.
applause.
Just
This is your first time
being in the studio. Y'all got it going on around here. I mean, Atlanta is the Black Mecca. Tyler Perry. Y'all, I mean, this is beautiful. I mean, I'm just completely in awe of this studio and how y'all have things set up. It's beautiful, beautiful.
Absolutely. Well, thank you and welcome. It's good to see you.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
Now things are starting to open up. I know Pierre can speak to Atlanta. I've been in Atlanta. You know, comedy clubs are open up. We're starting to see the scene slowly, but I know it's a little different in LA. How has adjusting to the pandemic been for you?
Slowly, you know, it's a blue state. So, you know, everything has been opening up slowly. They're trying to do it outside. Everything has been outside in California. So can't open up fast enough. I mean, this thing has really put a chokehold on my bank roll. So, I mean, you know, I've been struggling, you know what I'm saying? I was contemplating taking a regular job a couple of weeks ago. Thank God.
A regular job. Well, hey, Doug, I know you for damn near 20-some years, man. What would you do as your regular job, brother? Come on now.
I don't know. You know, you do this so long, what are you really qualified to do other than security? You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's an immediate, you can go right to that.
Well, you know, Atlanta been opened up. Let me tell you, Atlanta was opened up before COVID and stayed open, okay? I'm sorry to tell you, Atlanta been popping for a long time, so, you know.
I know, man. I look like an alien walking around here with a mask on. I'm the only person in the store with a mask on.
You was Asian, man. I thought you were one of them Asians coming from Singapore or something, man.
And like you said, it definitely has been a lot different here on the scene. And a lot of things are being affected because of the pandemic. I know a big thing for you was cruise ships.
Yeah, you know, we're doing the cruise ships. Pierre had just come on and started doing them. And people don't realize that those cruise ships, it's like a corporate gig. You know what I mean? I mean, Pierre and I have dealt with, you know, 9mm productions and, you know, people saying, you know, I got your money, and then you get there and they're like, hey, we ain't sell all the tea. You ain't got to worry about that when you're working for a company.
Let me holler at you. Let me holler at you after the show. Let me holler at you after the show.
So, yeah, you know, but that's not coming back for a while. So, I mean, that was, for me at least, that was a large part of, you know, my income, and it just went away, you know, so.
So how have you adjusted in that, being that, you know, comedy clubs are starting to slowly open back up, cruise ships are pretty much not a thing right now. How have you been able to adjust?
Well, I put my wife to work. You know, I say, hey, you got to, you know, we're going over the bills. You got to get out here and get this paper too. I mean, this has got to be a team. No, but fortunately, my wife booked a couple of shows. She was on the FX show, Mayans MC. Then she was on a show on Netflix, On My Block. But you know, I was saying, it's just as a man, you where I'm from Alabama. You're supposed to bring what you bring to the table. So, right. You know, it's good to see things opening back up. God has been merciful to me. You know, I'm doing a couple of projects now. You know, it forced me to do other things, to really concentrate on trying to get something else going. And, you know, and one of the things I've always loved about Pierre, we've always been of the entrepreneur mindset that, you know, don't wait on anybody, do it for yourself. Because when you think about just realistically, how many people we know, Pierre, that were in the trenches with us who have gone on to become very successful in this town and reach back and call and say, hey, you know what, come do this, come do that. It's few and in between. And as a result of that, Pierre and I have just taken it upon ourselves to get out and make things happen, you know, for ourselves. Much in the vein, the way John has done with Comedy Hype, man. That's one of the things that allured me to this platform is that I just respect what you guys are doing so much. You're not waiting on anybody. You're making things happen yourself.
Make it own it. I feel like every time he comes here, I learn something new, either about you or about Pierre. And it's like, as time continues to goes on, I learn more about you. Because as we know, I think in June, it'll be 18 years since the infamous roast that everybody tends to talk about, right? Like we talked about it here. I know you've addressed it on Vlad TV, but you've also moved forward in working with Kev on Stage, working with Comedy Hype. So I don't even want to dive into that, but my question is, you know, in 2020, we saw a monumental moment in our culture where Janet Hubert and Will Smith was able to reunite and really reconcile their relationship and all the issues that, went on behind the scenes. So my question to you is, do you think, if you and Jamie were to have that same reconciliation, that you'll be able to really move forward and not have the conversation? And that also that our culture will kind of have the same response to that, like, oh, because everybody knows who Doug Williams is, to see you and Jamie Foxx together could really make a moment.
I think the people want that. I think that there's still a lot of mystery surrounding what happened that night, and it's obvious in when I did the interview with Vlad TV, when I talked about it here, Comedy Hype really brought it to the forefront. I really came forward after 17, 18 years to talk about it on this platform, and the response was so big that it led to me doing Vlad TV. That's how I got to Vlad TV. They watch Comedy Hype. Right. So I think the people want to see it. And I think it'll be a fun thing to do. I really do think to have us sit down and talk about it so people can find out, what transpired, what was in his mind, what was in our mind. I think that there's a whole audience out there who would love to see that.
Now, I think something about Janet, too, is, we've seen where she kind of just mentioned how she felt after. Like, there was such a relief, kind of like this like
weight off her shoulder.
Yeah, it's new for her. Do you think for you that you would be able to gain that after having a conversation with Jamie face to face since that last roast? I
think that I would love to sit down with him and talk to him about it, because we've never talked about it. We've never had a sit down. I'd love to ask him some questions and just see where he was and tell him what transpired internally for me and what I had to deal with after that. And but I think that it's something that's wanted. I think that it would be fun. I think it would be interesting. There are no ill feelings on my part. I don't think they're, on his part. I saw him about 4 or 5 years ago. I was with my kids. He embraced my kids. He gave them a hug. He talked to them. So, I think that the public would love to see that. There's an audience that would love to see that.
Awesome. I agree.
Well, you mentioned something, Doug. This is interesting because, you're my boy. We talk personally. Before that roast, you weren't really popular. You really wasn't popular. People didn't know who you really were before the roast. And it seemed like the roast made you to somebody, but then people act like the roast stopped who you were. In fact, you worked more after the roast. You did the First Amendment. You did a lot of other things. So it's kind of weird how people say, oh, the roast stopped his career. I'm like, hold on, he didn't have a big career before that. The roast just made him popular. And y'all thought because he didn't maybe become Martin Lawrence or Eddie Murphy next, that it had stopped it. So let me ask you, do you think by any chance that maybe Hollywood saw the roast and felt like maybe they didn't push you as fast?
No, I don't think it hindered me in terms of Hollywood. I think it hindered me in terms of the new generation of internet viewers seeing it and putting a stamp on me that, I was dead or that I wasn't funny. So I think I was prejudged by the public.
True.
I don't think that, executives behind a desk were going, oh, should we give this guy a deal or should we work with him? Nah, we saw the roast. We can't do it. I don't think it had that type of effect.
Right.
I just think that it was a public perception that, to a degree, I'm still trying to overcome in some ways, even today, because that roast renews itself every 2 years. Somebody sees it and they post it, and a whole new generation of people see it, and then a label is put on me as a result of that.
Because you truly are not that roast. Trust me, I know this guy. He's truly not that. That roast is just a small thing that happened in his career that people made big.
Right. And that's I think we kind of talked about a little bit behind the scenes. It's like, it's at a point now, it's just like, all right, okay, but what's next? Like, there are other things, like, let's move on.
Right.
So speaking of what's next, let's talk about what you currently have going on. I know there's some things you can't fully mention, but.
Well, I just did a sitcom with Joe Torre, that Joe Torre was one of the producers on blkprime.com, blkprime.com. I play a preacher on that. It's also with Buddy Lewis. A very, very distinct cast. I'm here in town working on a project right now that I think is going to be really, really big. I don't know how much ad lib I'm to talk about it, but I'm working with the Harlem Globetrotters franchise. So that's going to be big. And I'm also working with Comedy Hype on some things behind the scenes. So I'm really excited about where things are going. I think this pandemic, you have to find the silver lining in everything. And I think this pandemic has opened up a lot of opportunities for me. So I'm very grateful, honored to be here, and I'm just looking forward to having fun, you know, and that's what I'm concentrating on, and you know, the sky's the limit.
Absolutely. Now, Pierre, I got the clear to say this, so I'm going to go ahead and put it out there. Pierre, I don't know if you know, but you're working on a documentary with Comedy Hype.
Yeah, right? we're trying to put some things together with this documentary. You know, it's incredible just being here because Comedy Hype was able to get out of me. I mean, I really buried that roast in terms of talking about it. I had moved on. And the way you guys approach me about talking about it and bringing it to the forefront really opened up a lot of doors for me. So, you know, sometimes people think that something is a negative, and it's turned out to be a positive.
Awesome. Well, definitely congratulations. It's fantastic to always have you. Like I said, I always learn something new either about you or Pierre, and it's always a great time having you here. Now, with that CH documentary, we do have a streaming platform coming out very soon that you can go to comedyhype.com and go ahead and sign up for. That way, they'll be able to go ahead and chime in on that exclusive documentary that I'm super excited for.
Oh, man.
So congratulations on everything.
Hey, thank you guys for having me here in studio. This was an impromptu thing. I mean, like I said, I'm in town working on some other stuff. Always a big fan of Pierre's, huge fan of Comedy Hype. I can't thank you guys enough for what you've been doing for me and pushing me out in the forefront. And I'm just really grateful.
Again, Doug, thank you so much for joining us today. And once again, you can go to comedyhype.com to go ahead and sign up for that exclusive input on our new streamer that we have coming out. For Comedy Hype News, I'm Symphony Thompson.
Don't forget to put it in the comments.
Yo, Pierre, is that you?
Yeah, what's
From
up?
Comedy Hype?
Yeah, that's me, bro.
Yo, I'm such a big fan of yours, yo. I watch you all the time, yo.
Okay, cool.
I got a couple questions. You be saying some wild stuff on the show, though.
Huh?
Like, why you always over-talking Symphony?
Okay.
Why you always got these crazy white man opinions?
Yeah.
And why you always go against what everyone says?
Bruh, put it in the comments, man. I'm not out here.
You a fan of the Comedy Hype News Show? Take a piece of us home with you by purchasing your own mug from each of our correspondents. Available now at comedyhype.com/shop.